Hi, how are you? This is Damaris Maria Grossman, and this is the Mindfully Integrative Show. And today we have an amazing guest with Dr. Varma. He is the founder of a probiotic Phylabiotics. So it's probiotics and dermatology, but he'll tell you more about it because it's pretty fascinating. And he's here to kind of tell you his take in the integrative health space and in the medical space and what he's changed now in the way of thinking. So please welcome Dr. Varma. How are you?
Hey, Dr. Grossman, it's great to be here, and I'm excited to have this conversation today.
Yeah, thanks. And I'm so glad for you to kind of like hang out and beyond because your bio and your history is just a lot. And I know that you've already been in the whole health space for quite a while. And obviously, you've made it your passion, to come up with science based technology in the derm world. How did this kind of come up for you? I was just telling you right before, I had another colleague of mine, and we were just like, wow, what if you could put probiotics in the body? And then sure enough, there's someone coming up with it.
Absolutely, and it's a question that I think a lot of people are asking nowadays, especially as our focus has become so much on health and wellness, but also not health and wellness where you go to a doctor, get a prescription, and get on a bunch of drugs and rinse and repeat. We're talking now a lot about integrative sort of medicine, food as medicine, medical foods, all sorts of stuff, and probiotics fit squarely into that. But if you're asking me about my inspiration, this goes back, probably 10, 15 years when I was in grad school and I heard about this really cool technology. And I was doing my PhD at that time. And after I finished my PhD, um, and I was at Johns Hopkins then in Baltimore, I moved to UCSF as a postdoc to kind of further nurture my interest in this technology. It's called phage or bacteriophage technology. And I ended up studying the microbiome, which is just this fascinating, at that time, very young field of science, which was uncovering some pretty amazing things on an almost monthly basis. And so I did my postdoc at UCSF. And after my postdoc, I started this company because I decided that the time was right for us to work on this technology. So my motivation was very much in terms of sort of fidelity to the technology, really a desire and a hunger to push it and make products with it that we can put in people's hands. Because one of the things that frustrated me about the microbiome is we're learning such cool stuff, but then, 6 months later, you're like, oh, I'm sure someone's working on this and making this a product or a,
Right.
technology that people can use. But then you realize, no, the function of, academic research is to uncover phenomena, say, oh, that's really cool, and kind of move on. And that's fine. That fills a very valuable and critical niche in our sort of need for knowledge. But I decided to kind of take a step out of that and really try to see if we can push this technology and build products.
That's
So that's
amazing.
my motivation. I started the company with my co-founder Maria, and when I met Maria, this was still when I was doing my postdoc. She's an accomplished biotech executive. Spent many many years as sort of a very high flying executive, but she's had acne since she was an adult, since she was in her teens. And she's tried everything, like a lot of people, tried everything under the sun. Nothing worked. She tried a couple of rounds of Accutane, more than once. And unfortunately, although it didn't cure her acne, it did give her liver damage, which
I bet it
unfortunately
did. I bet it
yeah,
did.
it's a common side effect. And she still to this day has a modified diet, can't eat certain foods. It kind of really was a bummer. And the funny thing was, even with all of that, right? People go through all of this to cure their acne. They're clearly desperate to find a cure for their problem. And it often doesn't work because the relapse rate of retinoids can be as high as 60%. And so people take multiple rounds of the dangerous drug, like my co-founder did.
Mm,
And just wasn't fair. So she joined our mission with a really sort of acute focus on, I want to help myself, but I want to help people like myself.
right.
And what can we do uh to kind of facilitate that, to service that, and to really put a product in their hands that has a completely different value, that offers something completely different, the ability to get rid of your acne without the harsh side effects. Not just the stuff for the short term, which is the inflammation and the redness and the dryness, but stuff in the long term where you have skin damage, you have, sometimes scarring, sometimes chronic dryness, relapses, right? A lot of people try a product and it works for a couple of months and then stops working and then back to square one. It's very frustrating. So it was a bit emotional. It was a bit kind of uh, uh, sort of enthusiasm about a technology, but that's how we came together to build Phyla.
But I feel like that's where the best products come in. But also the fact that you're able to use the science-based technology and then something that's very needed, you're looking at like the big picture. How long have you guys been in like having product and working?
So we've been doing research and development since 2016, so about 6 years
Oh,
now.
that's great.
But the reason why it takes so long is this is, basically biotech in a bottle. So we did
Mm.
basic science research, applied biotech research, and we instead of taking this and making this a prescription drug that then becomes high priced and you have to
Mhm.
go to a doctor and there's lots of barriers. Some people's insurance, many people's insurance don't cover acne medication. We decided to get this into people's hands as fast as possible after we did a clinical trial and thorough, not just regulatory but kind of health um, checkups and
Yeah.
validations. And so we've been in the market for about 2 years now,
Hmm.
and I've just been kind of blown away by how phenomenal the response has been.
I mean, it
How
sounds
many
amazing on the what it's probably helped and how many people. I was wondering in the sense of, can a person that doesn't have acne use it?
Absolutely. So the beauty of
Okay.
this technology is that it only kills the bad bacteria that causes acne, and it
Hmm.
doesn't affect any of the good bacteria that are part of our microbiome on the skin that we need to protect ourselves, that are this protective layer that keep us healthy.
Hmm.
And so if you're healthy, there are a lot of people who are healthy who don't have visible signs of acne, but they do have, uneven skin tone, lifeless skin, a little inflammation, blotchiness, whatever. And a lot of that is low-grade inflammation that is caused by the acne bacteria that hasn't overgrown to the point where your body is going to elicit an inflammatory response, but it's under that. Yet your microbiome is still out of balance, your body's responding to that with sort of low grade inflammation, and phyla, we know can help with that as well. and
That's
and the beauty is that if you don't have an imbalance in your microbiome, right, then our technology, because it's sort of self-regulating or self-balancing, it will not move your microbiome out of balance. It will just really not do anything if nothing needs to be done.
so if you're
Why?
if you're even and you're in balance, it's gonna keep you at balance. If you're not in balance, so it keeps you at a nice homeostatic state.
Exactly, because acne is a chronic condition. We have a lifelong relationship with our skin, and maintaining that balance of the microbiome and of our skin health is critically important for us to have long-term skin health. And that's really kind of plays into the ethos of our company, which is to help people get healthy skin for life. We're not in the, oh, we'll get you clear skin tomorrow or for the
Mm.
weekend or whatever. Because unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. Anyone who's
That's called reality. You're giving real news and reality, right? It's like me with patients. Okay. It's like, no, this takes like 6 months, maybe a year to fix.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
you're
that's the
talking
thing.
real
And
stuff.
there
You're
may
being
be
real.
some quick fixes that are really harsh and that you will pay the price for. You look good next week, but then the next month you'll really pay the price. And
Liver
fundamentally, we don't
damage is
take
severe. It's not
exactly.
not reversible, not reversible.
Mhm. And with retinoids, that's kind of the least of it, right? You have blood work that needs to be done. It has birth defects. There's depression and suicide, chronic dry. I mean, pretty serious stuff. So, we don't want to have people go through that if they don't have to.
And have you had a number of patients with like the severe cyst acne do very well?
Yes. So the beauty of this technology is it works with all forms of acne, whether it's hormonal, whether it is medium, mild, severe, nodulocystic. We've seen really a breadth of kind of acne that has responded to our product. And honestly, a lot of our patients or subjects, our customers who come to us have usually tried everything under the sun. They've
Mm-hmm.
gone to the
I bet.
dermatologist. They've tried every brand that's out there that's, claiming to do this and that. But fundamentally, at the end of the day, everyone's selling the same stuff in a different bottle. It's the same stuff, right? Benzoyl peroxide, retin-A, whatever, antibiotics in the case of prescription products. And a lot of parents, especially, who are looking for solutions for their kid, are looking at these things because they went through acne, they remember it, and they're so disappointed when they learn that nothing's changed. Even if they go to the doctor, the products are the same, the active ingredients are the same, and then they're like, wow, I really hated acne as a teenager, and I hate it even more when I had to go on this medication because it really hurt my skin. And I'm still maybe suffering from it now. And why would I sign my kid up for the same thing? So when we have a new approach that is informed by science and the latest microbiome research, we're able to tell people with confidence that, we're going to give you your healthy skin back. And this is what it's going to do. It's going to change your life in certain ways. And, we're sorry if you've been through this whole journey, this whole experience. We're sorry that you haven't found the product that works for you. And we, think Phyla is definitely the thing for you.
I mean, I'm not even trying to be a commercial for this podcast, but it's overall it makes sense to me. Being someone a functional medicine provider myself, and like my obsession with the microbiome and the need for good gut health, I just feel that, we were just talking to I talk to people about having good acne just by eating well, right? And having good probiotics just internally. And then to have this other topical approach instead of all this like antibiotics that we're trying to, excess. I think it just makes sense. The science makes
Mhm.
sense to me, and it's real, and it's like talking more about, because we all talk about, like, everybody's got MRSA now, and they're losing their layers, and then they're just sunburns and XY, their layer of protectiveness are gone, and then people's diets and excess, but the fact that they at least have some sort of option, in addition to nutritional and health other things, but I think it's needed because there's so many people that need to have that conversation about what they're putting in their body and then what are you putting on your body,
Yep,
you know?
absolutely.
So I know you've done so much research in this area, but was it that you had a family member that also had this, or was it just the co-founder that you worked with that was in need of this kind of product?
Yeah, I mean, it was mostly my co-founder and I who kind of were really driven
Mm.
to uh, kind of develop this technology and then really bring it to market, which is much more difficult and much more, I
Oh,
think,
it's
significant.
I can only imagine how it could be, making any product in general, and then something that's science based and, really rooted into real science, not just like, oh, hey, let me just slap a label on it.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And, for us, it was really important to validate this clinically. So we did run a clinical trial, and the results were not only great and impressive, but they actually helped us learn more about how this product works or how this technology works. And to be able to kind of explain it to our customers, because I think that, as a scientist and a communicator, I feel like you can do great science all day. If you don't communicate it well, you're actually hurting yourself because people don't really understand the significance of the the work you're doing, the
Hmm.
how it might impact their world in the now or in the future. But also when you make products with the technology, um, if they don't understand the significance and the importance of doing it this way versus other ways, then you're really doing yourself a disservice because you're not educating your customer.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're bringing it to like real world simple terms,
Hmm.
and letting the average person know that, you're going to help them, and you're going to, and people really want to look good, but they want to look good without having to do so many of the extra things, and it's just it's self-esteem too, you're making them feel better without having to take this extra stuff and excess, Um,
Yeah, 100%, because acne often starts at in the teenage years, and that's a time when you're especially emotionally and mentally vulnerable because you're still learning to become an adult, still trying to figure out who you are and how you fit into the world. And then acne comes and it completely, we have parents who say, "Look, my kid was the most popular kid in class, really, you know, friendly, helpful guy, played soccer, played music, and then almost overnight became a recluse because he had this horrible outbreak of acne, and his self-worth became zero, and he doesn't talk to his friends. He barely goes to school. He just hides in, and he's so miserable. He's always so kind of distraught, and I'm like, wow,
I
if
have
we
two
could,
questions for you on
yeah,
this
go
topic.
for it.
Um, what what are your causes that you think are for acne? And then how could you explain to me the hormonal, because you said it works for anyone with hormonal. So like puberty up to like, middle-aged women. Middle age.
Hmm.
I'm thinking I get that meant. Now, oh, maybe three questions. But let's start with one. What's your initial thought of what causes the acne? Being the science
Sure.
based on it. Yeah.
So the cause of acne is pretty clear, and that is the overgrowth of this one bacterium called C. acnes.
Okay. It is. All
Now,
right.
certain certain factors have to sort of be put in place or click into place for that bacteria to take over your skin and then start overgrowing. But essentially, you know, if you think of your microbiome, I think of it as a rainforest on our skin. And the reason it's a rainforest is because it's incredibly diverse. But you can't see this rainforest because it's invisible. Its trees are made out of bacteria, viruses, fungi, microorganisms that we can't see. But this community of microbes that lives on our skin is what we call the skin microbiome. We have a similar rainforest in our gut, that we call the gut microbiome, and so on. Now, this microbiome, as we've learned in the last couple of decades, has a very important function. It is that it constantly protects us from all sorts of stuff around our environment that may potentially harm us, and it keeps us healthy. And just like a rainforest, when you're healthy, your microbiome's in balance. Now, your balance may be different from my balance, but there is a sort of concept of balance that and resiliency that we can measure. Now, when you get a chronic bacterial disease like acne, there are other in the skin like eczema and so on, that balance can be disrupted by usually one bacterium that is overgrowing and causing disease. So now you're in an imbalanced state, you have the disease. So to get back to health, you need to go back to that balanced state, right? But when we take harsh products like antibiotics, benzoyl peroxide, retinoids, etc., we're basically killing the forest, turning the forest into a desert instead of
Fascinating.
just bringing the forest that's out of balance into balance.
Mm.
Because all of these products are antibacterial in nature, and all of these products kill indiscriminately. So while they're killing the
Good or
bad
bad?
bacteria, yeah,
Ah,
they're killing the good too.
right.
So it's like chopping down the whole forest because you have an invasive species that that overgrew, and so instead of just cutting that one plant out, you're chopping down the whole forest. And obviously, because you're depleting that protective layer, you're almost setting yourself up for a relapse, and that's why you see such high rates of relapse with all these harsh products.
Mm.
So
Oh.
the cause of the problem is one bacteria that's overgrowing. It's called Cutibacterium acnes or C. acnes. Um, and we know that acne is multifactorial, right? It's affected by diet and genetics and stress and all sorts of stuff and hormones. But if you look at it through the lens of the microbiome, it all actually these are secondary factors. They're not primary factors. And the primary factor is still the overgrowth of this bacteria. So let
Mm.
me explain. When we eat stuff, our body responds to different foods differently, right? Like I may have a high tolerance for spicy food and you may not, or I may break out with oily foods and you don't. But what's happening is whatever your trigger food is, your body is responding by changing the quality or quantity of sebum, which is the natural oil that our skin produces in our body. And this sebum is the sole food source for this bacteria, C. acnes. So if you're eating whatever your trigger food is and you start producing more sebum, the C. acnes goes to town,
Mm,
overgrows, and now your skin's like, oh, that's too much of this one bacteria. I'm responding with inflammation, and the inflammation is basically the pimples that
acne.
we know as
Yeah.
acne.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if we can keep that C. acnes in bounds, you can sweat as much as you want, right? You can eat whatever you want. Your hormonal cycle, will go up and down, but your skin will remain clear and healthy.
Because you're in
And
a
yeah,
steady
and
state.
so some people think that, oh, I'll dry my skin out, that's gonna cure my acne. I mean, technically, yes, that is a secondary factor, right? Because you're drying out the skin, you're stopping the sebum production, which is the food source. So you're starving the bacteria. But the problem is the sebum is produced for a reason. It's a very important reason. It lubricates your skin cells. It keeps them healthy. It prevents fine lines and wrinkles and premature aging, right? And so if you're drying out your skin, you're setting yourself up for maybe, 5, 10 years down the line, looking around and saying, wow, my skin's really a lot different and a lot worse than other people my age. And at that point, the damage is done. So we don't want, or we no longer need people to take those extreme measures. We can have a different approach, and an approach that tackles the prime cause, the root cause of the disease without the collateral damage.
I feel like now you have like a second level in anti-aging there product at some point.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean, not
honestly,
now, but I'm just saying it that,
100%.
a next
Yeah.
level. Yeah.
We haven't studied it for that long. We've only been in the market a couple of years, but yeah, we are studying it, and we're very interested in seeing the effects of this because for me, as a
I mean,
scientist,
as a secondary product or something, but from the conversation, it makes sense. The science.
yeah, and we are seeing these effects that are reported by our customers. Um, we as a scientific company love to do our own research, our own kind of unbiased research that we do with third parties to make sure we have unbiased, highly, quantifiable data that's pure, not contaminated, so that then we can make a claim instead of saying, oh yeah, we think this does aging, even though it only does acne.
Right.
And so yeah, to your point, we're looking into it and we're really excited to see what happens.
Yeah, yeah, even if it's like a next level where you're, increasing the oil within, but like, a balance. And that's it just makes sense. It's another level, obviously. But it's very fascinating to me. I'm love the biome, so and the microbiome, and then I love this new term, skin microbiome. I think you're gonna have I think there's a book out there for you. You're gonna be writing it, or you and your colleague, because I haven't read it because I feel like all I do is right now is read and research, and I haven't read enough
Hmm.
about this. So it's great.
Yeah.
Um, I really appreciate you being on the show, and I'd love for you to leave a little small tip before I'm going to have all your information in the show notes and how people can reach you. First up, do you have a small tip or thought you'd like to leave the audience?
Um, well, my tip or thought is keep it simple. When it comes to skincare, um, I feel like things have gotten really complicated when they don't necessarily need to. There was a study that was done out of Australia that said that the modern consumer, especially women, puts about 500 ingredients on their skin every day. Now, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that we may not need every one of those 500 ingredients. Maybe we could leave a few out because think of what it's doing to your skin, right? Most of the ingredients are usually benign, but just the sheer number and weight of these ingredients on our skin is choking it, is kind of sealing off our pores, is clogging them, and we fundamentally don't need them. So our ethos is keep it simple. That's why we only have 3 products in our system. Very simple regimen that you can incorporate. Anyone can incorporate in their life, and
I'm giving
it's
this for
just
Christmas presents. I can just feel it. I already have like three family members that are already like,
there you go.
I was
Yeah,
already
and
thinking
keep it
about this
simple.
holiday
You
present.
know, no one wants to do a 15-step regimen if they don't have to, right? And you don't
Mhm.
have to. So keep it simple. And I think your skin will thank you for it, not just now, but far into the future.
Oh, wait, thank you so much for being on. And is there anything upcoming that you'd like to let the audience know about?
No, you can. So we're Phyla, Phyla. You can check us out at phylabiotics.com where we have our science, our clinical information. We also have our products. So, learn about the microbiome, learn about our technology and its benefits before you purchase. We're on social media, on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and now TikTok, Brave New World, at
Yeah.
Phylabiotics. It's all the same handle, at Phylabiotics. And yeah, we're looking forward to opening up dialogues with people about their acne, how we can help, and really hopefully give them a new approach, a different approach that they've just never had before, to try a product that doesn't hurt your skin, doesn't cause collateral damage, and will really help you on your skin journey to clear skin for life.
What I like with the conversation about it with you is like I've heard people say like they'll put something in it in like a product, right? And like, oh, I'll put red, whatever. You're just being very, very transparent, but also the science backing them. Understand what is really going on and the real underlying cause, which is really like my job on a daily. I always try to get to the underlying causes of things. And it's amazing how people just don't know, or are unaware of the causes of things, and you're talking about that, and you're like, it's not balanced, we need to get this back into balance, and I think it's important. And so I'm really glad that you were able to make it on the show and take your knowledge and your to those listening. So thanks so much.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's always great to talk to a doctor, who sees patients, sees kind of it's, people who need help on a daily basis, and is like, look, this is what I'm hearing, and this is not some dry discussion. These are real people that I see every day that need help, and this is the stuff that they're taking, or these are the limits of the stuff that they're taking right now. What else is there? Because then it helps us to understand, oh, okay, we're here with the science, with the technology. How can we service that? How can we provide
I think
value?
it's phenomenal because there's such a desperation, and this is the, you're in your situation when like you said, the puberty, the children, like, high school kids are like, I want to get my acne done, right? And you have that. So you're just coming and giving a solution that's so necessary. And it's a real solution without making so much side effects that can cause or harm. And, I just don't like to cause harm as much as possible. And I also love it to be, make sense. So thanks so much for being on. I really appreciate your time. And I'm hoping that maybe at some other time we'll be able to reach out again.
Thank you. Yeah, this was a great conversation. I really enjoyed it, and I hope your listeners got some good value out of it.
I think they did. And I look forward to you being on again. And thank you guys for reaching out and being on the show. And hopefully you'll find a mindful way each and every day.